I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, September the 1st, brought to you in part by Bromwich Commodities. My friend Candy Sullivan there in Lexington, Kentucky. She can help you out if you guys need to hedge some of your crops or your livestock. You're interested in that kind of thing. You just want to open an account and you know, play a hunch once in a while. Whatever you want to do, get a hold of Candy there, BromwichCommodities.com, and she'll help you out. It's 1st of September here, guys, already. I'm going to be giving you guys the market of the month for August here in just a few minutes, but we're going to talk about what's kind of going on in the markets. It's technical's turn to take over to try to drive this cattle market if it's going to get done. Now, I was talking there on our last visit that we just kind of run out of bullishness, run out of positives, because your fund managers were looking into that cattle on feed report here that we got a week and a half ago or so, and just finding all the bearishness in it and not recognizing any of the positives. So they've been kind of driving that market down, and then we've had quite a bit of hedging pressure there on your market too. So it hasn't been great here, but all of a sudden now we're seeing a lot of these technical analysts. They're liking the downturn that happened last week because it looks good on their charts. And you know, I studied the charts many years ago when I was in grad school, but I never really felt a love for it. I don't see how near-term history can foresee the future, but the heck of it is, if everybody's reading the charts the same ways, it will work. So you just got to go with the flow. I'd be a lot more interested in fundamentals myself, but you know, I'm not sure what they saw in there, whether it was a double bottom or whatever, but it took out the lows and then went back up, and that's a strong positive signal. And a lot of your technical analysts are thinking that this is going to drive the market here over the next couple of months, maybe. And then they feel more confident in that than they do fundamentals, which I don't blame them, because the fundamentals don't seem to ring true very often. But if you want to look at some fundamentals and try to find some positives in there, we feel like we've got supplies under control. You know, we've got our slaughter back up to normal as far as head counts. We've still got a weight problem. We've talked about that, but if we stay aggressive on these things, we'll work through that eventually. Your big feeder cattle, high volume auctions that are on Monday, they're not going to be having sales Monday for Labor Day, so evidently they're pretty well caught up, or they'd be wanting to have a sale. I would say that we are kind of all right on these numbers here, and we know that USDA totally blew our inventories because of the 2019 winter and the spring there, because it was so harsh, and we did lose a lot of head counts, and we don't have as many cattle to be fed and eventually slaughtered as they had told us we had, which it would have been nice to have that information. Maybe things wouldn't have got so tough here through the worst of the COVID and through the summer. But I think we're okay on our supplies, and we know going forward we're going to have shorter supplies. We've got a good export market. Our Asian markets are coming back in. They've pretty much depleted every place they can find. They're short of hogs, they're short of beef. That's a good sign. We're sending stuff to mainland China, even though we're kind of in a piss and match with them right now as they sent us that Wuhan flu and everything, but they're still taking products from us. They're taking grain, they're taking some direct shipments of beef, so that's a good thing. Taiwan has eased their rules as far as bringing in pork and beef, so likely going to be sending a lot more protein to them. Things are looking pretty good there. And then you look back and you think, my gosh, you remember we're talking about the placements on this last cattle on feed, and that was the really bearish thing, because placements were 111, and we're thinking, man, where'd all these cattle come from? Well, just go back a few months. Remember April placements, 77%? You know, I don't know that we've ever really seen anything come of that. Well, as we get in here this fall, at some point, We don't have the big numbers of backlog cattle. We do have some weights on those cattle, but we don't have the big numbers of backed up cattle to backfill that hole that we're going to be bound to see sometime this fall on market ready cattle. And Monday they came out with a show list that was a lot lighter than last week, and we didn't move that many cattle last week. We've got to be about caught up as far as numbers go, and I think that could be a positive. Working through these cattle pretty good, and I think things are looking decent. And if we could just get some fund people, fund managers behind us, some of those prognosticators, they've got a lot of people invest their way. If they're bullish about this in a technical way, then sure, I'll go with them too. What the heck? Let's get bullish about this thing. We need to drive some market position to this deal. You know, I've told you many times, most of these cattle feeders don't really care what the market is. You know, as long as everything's lined up, you know, they don't care what the market is. They're going to buy cattle, they'll hedge. They'll hedge those cattle to their gills. They'll feed those cattle as cheap as they can. They'll pay for their feedlot, and then they'll hope for a basis whenever they sell those cattle. You know, as cheap as interest is, what difference does it make what they cost? Well, why not give some of these cow-calf guys and these backgrounders a market point, a price that they can kind of live with if nobody really cares where we're at. So that would be pretty darn good. We still need to get this, get our restaurants open back up. Our food service sucks because these liberal governors will not open these restaurants up to full capacity. Just as good as we're getting along right now, just imagine if we did have all of our restaurants open. I mean, it would be fantastic. I know it's been frustrating, no place to go here. Over the weekend, I'll tell you guys a little short story here. Went down to Roaring Springs, Texas, which is a population about 200 there, but that's getting down into the big ranch country of Texas. And I'll tell you what, went down there, huge crowd for the ranch rodeo. I've been a few times, and biggest crowd that I've ever seen there. Everybody enjoying it, nobody worried about a mask, maybe a few elderly people, and that's their right to do that. If they feel like they need to do that, fine. And the people that have some other issues with their health and wanted to stay home, that's fine. But sitting there around the bandstand there that Saturday afternoon as they was getting ready for the ranch rodeo, they had a western swing band playing there, and then people were doing some dancing, and got to visiting with an old cowboy there. Some of you might know him. His name's Ralph Moat. Has been a cowboy, worked on the ranches around that country for a long time, and he told me that he had just turned 80 years old. And I said, well, are you worried about this COVID deal? And he said, well, no. In fact, he said, I'm looking for a woman that's Rona positive, because then we'd have to be shut up together for the next 14 days. So I thought that was a pretty good way to look at it, and I was looking for a Rona positive too, but didn't find one there. The pickings kind of got slim by the time the sun went down. But anyways, I tell you what, this COVID deal, you know, I told you a joke about it. The whole thing is getting to be a joke. You know, they've come out now on early this week and said that they did overstate working towards 200,000 people that's died of it in the United States. They did admit that, in fact, only 6% of those died strictly of COVID. The other people had other health issues that they were dealing with, the reason that they ultimately passed away. And I know a lot of people that's gotten it, and I know some people that's gotten sick, and I know there's a lot of you out there that know people that have died as a result of this virus. But I tell you what, we have got to open this thing up and get back to work and get back to you know, going to these restaurants and stores and these small businesses. If we don't get things open back up pretty soon, I tell you what, we're in for it. But if you guys want to vote for Biden, he'll likely shut it down for another year or so, waiting on this thing. That's his only chance to get elected anyway, is fear about this COVID and riots and all that kind of thing. But won't get started on that. Let's talk about this market of the month. I told you guys I was going to give you the market of the month for August. That is sponsored by Zactran, And Zach Tran is going to give them a care package. It's got some swag there. They're going to get a nice sign saying that they were recognized as Zach Tran's Feeder Flash Market of the Month. And it's just a sale barn that's doing a really good job with all things being considered, where they're at in the country, what they've got available to them. But I tell you what, we've had some really good ones, but the one that I'm going to call Market of the Month this time is Bluegrass Stockyards, Richmond, Kentucky. Jim Doss there, really great guy. Got another guy working with him, Mike Murphy. I made a mistake and called him Mark here a few weeks ago. I know a Mark Murphy, that's the reason I did that. But I had a good day talking with both of those individuals when I was down there the last time, and they are doing such a good job with that market. It's not the biggest market that Bluegrass has in Kentucky there. They've got 7 locations, but I tell you what, for that, where that market sits, and Jim's had that sale barn forever, they are just getting loads and loads and loads of backgrounded yearlings in there. They're selling at the extreme top of the market, no matter where on the globe you look, and they are just doing an excellent job. And they're our Market of the Month, sponsored by Zach Tran. It's for September the 1st, but it's actually for the August month. But they did a great job. Congratulations to them, and I'm tickled to death for them. Let's look at the board starting out the week. October live cattle futures up 40 cents at 105.30. December up 47 at 108.97. You going out from there, and it was unchanged, up 80. So positive signals here after we thought that we'd extinguished all the bullishness out of the market last week. September feeder cattle up 27 cents, 140.30. October up 45 cents at 140.62. You going out from there, up 27 to up 77. So pretty good day on the board, and like I said, a lot of these technical analysts think that we're going to continue to see that. So that would be great if everybody traded that way. Look at your weighted average on last week's fed cattle movement. Negotiated cash out of your 5-area feeding region, 83,200's all. That's like 35,000 or more less than just last week, yet we come up with a much smaller show list. I don't take a lot of stock in those show lists. I remember I worked with a guy named Gary Kinder in Nebraska. He checked the show list or gave out an estimate every week for 15 or 20 years, and it was always 100,000. Yet they'd still call him every Monday. What is it this Monday? 100,000. I'll be damned. It always was. And he had no rhyme or reason why he gave that out. But 83,200 head compared to 114,900 last week, and just 57,100 the same week a year ago when we were getting through the aftermath of that fire, if you guys remember. But your weighted average on live steers and heifers with a price range of 103 to 107, which was steady to $3 lower. Your weighted average price on live steers 105.09. That was down $1.50 on the weighted average there. So pretty significant drop. Dressed steers and heifers 164 to 168. $3 to $5 lower. Weighted average on dressed steers 166.53. That was down $2.88 from the weighted average on dressed steers from just the week before. Nationwide cash sold 100,800 head. Formula about 295,000 head. So that gives you an idea of the discrepancy there. Of those nationwide cash sales, 100,800, about 28% of them were for the 15 to 30 day delivery. Maybe they thought they were working towards a downer market, and your packers trying to buy a few more cattle out front there. Negotiated grid, which ones of the guys that keep fighting mandated minimum cash, they keep thinking negotiated grid's going to save us. Only 22,800 of them nationwide for the week last week. But let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Monday at 140.11. That was up just 4 cents, which is surprising that it gained any ground at all. We did have some Northern Plains sales with some stick-out prices there that held things up. But man, look at your high-volume sales. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma National Stockyards, 9,500 head there. Like I said, no sale next week. 9,500 head. Feeder steers $4 to $7 lower. That's on top of $3 to $10 lower just last Monday, guys. Ouch. Feeder heifers $1 to $5 lower. They were $3 to $5 lower the same sale a week ago, and that just shows that's heavily supported by corporate feedlots. And they just decided to back things up, guys. But man, it was tough sledding there in Oklahoma City. The calves steady to $4 lower. Joplin Regional Stockyards, 5,800 head there. Not quite as bad. Most of the cattle were steady, mostly steady, except for feeder steers weighing over 800 pounds. They were kind of weak to $2 lower. Heifer calves steady to $2 higher. Give you a few individual quotes from around the circuit. How about Sigourney, Iowa there? Brandon Fry, he was selling that sale and sent me some good quotes out of there. Sigourney, Iowa, 66 head, 761 pound steers, bring $149. How about Faith, South Dakota? Faith Livestock Auction had 52 head, 933 pound steers, bring $142.25. I want to tell you about some sales that's coming up here on Tuesday. Mid-Atlantic cattle sales. That's a video there, kind of a board sale video that's going to be on DV Auction Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern there. They've got 28 loads of cattle. We've done Mid-Atlantic cattle sales for a long time on there. Those cattle will be right. They'll be long time weaned, mostly in square loads. There's a few of them, and they'll tell you which ones are not that you can put together. But for the most part, going to be square loads. Going to be here today, Tuesday, 1 o'clock Eastern on DV Auction. You can go on DV Auction, look at Mid-Atlantic cattle sales, and you can see the videos on there and see the description and everything of the cattle. Also, Ozarks Regional Stockyards, West Plains, Missouri. They're going to have another one of their in-house videos. They got along really good here a couple weeks ago when they tried it before. They've got about 9 lots on this week's video here today, Tuesday. They've been doing that about 1:30 in the afternoon Central, so I assume that's what they'll do. They'll shut the regular sale down and then put those video lots up there. You can view and bid dvauction.com. Best quote that I saw anywhere on Monday was out of Elgin Livestock Sales. Baum Brothers there had one hell of a sale. Check out, these are green grass yearlings, big ones. You don't think they have the green grass yearlings there in eastern Nebraska, but they do. A few left. 111 head, 2 loads, 1,008 pound green feeder steers, $138.75. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.